There will be more to episode 9's ending than most people think, as we were given 3 early previews towards how it'll go, starting with the idea that, similar to another popular web show we'll get into later on, the ending of the Digital Circus will actually reboot the entire series. But what exactly does this mean, and how do we know to be expecting this in the finale? What all started with a major detail fans of the show discovered towards the finale's ending that was actually hidden back in episode 8. It turns out during the scene where we saw Kinger going through the Digital Circus's file in the computer before he deleted Kane, there was a specific line of code that many people originally missed. Something that was described as a list of backup checkpoints of the Digital Circus, A, B, and C, similar to saved checkpoints in a video game that the player could return back to if they wanted. This single detail revealed to us that the circus members had the capability of traveling back in time to live in these backups, instead of the hopeless, meaningless chaos they seemed to find themselves in during episode 9's trailer. But what would this detail tell us about episode 9's ending specifically? Well, it turns out what we're told about here actually matches together with what we've already heard to be confirmed for episode 9's ending by the show's creator Gooseworks, as well as one of the voice actors for the show. You see, Gooseworks recently said how the show's finale was being set up as the most miserable, experimental, messed up episode in the whole series, only for the voice actor for Kane to respond to this original post by making a very specific reference to a season of a completely different show, Twin Peaks: The Return. A show that was very strongly characterized by how it actually ended. Only, there had to be some sort of connection between this ending and the ending of the Digital Circus for Kane's voice actor to be bringing it up here, which is where our next early preview finally comes into play here. This early detail about what to specifically be expecting for the Digital Circus's ending that essentially confirmed to us that whatever happens during it was meant to be unpredictable and not expected, as that's exactly what was additionally confirmed for us by Kane's voice actor as well. An idea that Twin Peaks: The Return, this other show that Kane's voice actor highlighted as important here, mirrors perfectly. Not only was the ending of Twin Peaks: The Return unexpected, but it also connected to the same idea of backup checkpoints we mentioned earlier on. In the Digital Circus, we're shown the potential for the characters to travel back in time to these checkpoints in a sort of alternate reality, and in Twin Peaks: The Return, the main character actually goes to this alternate reality in their universe at the very end of the show. This was the big connection Kane's voice actor was trying to spell out for us, meaning in terms of the Digital Circus's finale, we'd be expecting this backup checkpoint idea to return in a big way. But which checkpoint specifically from the Digital Circus's past should we be expecting the characters to return to in episode 9? And how do we know to be expecting any of this for sure? Well, it turns out the show's creator Gooseworks has actually been alluding to this whole checkpoint concept since the very beginning, which is where the idea of a specific one that the characters will return to in the finale comes into play. You see, she's already revealed to us in the past how she's been foreshadowing a huge moment in the show's future with small details from previous episodes. Only these details have all connected to one specific moment from the circus's past. The same moment we're expecting to see make a comeback in the show's final episode, the pilot, the start of it all. It turns out this episode has been the only one continuously referenced more and more leading up to the finale in a big way. We've literally seen exact scenes essentially copied from this episode in episode 8, almost like the Digital Circus was starting to go full circle. Almost like we'd finally see the circus members return back to the start of this circle, the very beginning of the show, in episode 9. An ending that'll show the circus members go back to their saved checkpoint from the pilot episode in order to restart the whole cycle all over again. But how do we know for sure that we'll be seeing this in the finale? Well, it turns out on top of our perfectly connecting details towards this ending possibility, we were given another preview towards the finale that ended up coming from a completely different show. One of the inspirations for the Digital Circus's creation in the first place. You see, there's actually been multiple of these separate inspiration shows that have essentially predicted certain episodes of the Digital Circus before they came out. For example, one of the main series often credited credited for inspiring the digital circus, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, set up the idea of a rogue AI individually punishing a group of main characters exactly like what we ended up seeing later on in the digital circus as well. Towards the end of episode 8, we saw Kane individually punishing each circus member with their greatest fear, showing how the show that inspired this, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, can be used to essentially predict parts of the digital circus. Only there was another show that partially helped inspire the digital circus that almost no one talks about. A show that finally helps us piece together the digital circus's ending before it gets released. Let me introduce you to a little series called Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. For those that don't know, DHMIS is a series that follows a very similar format to the digital circus. Both shows appear to be brightly colored, sort of family-friendly shows externally, only for the plots of these shows to slowly change into something a lot more chaotic and unexpected. But the connections also go a lot deeper than that. As it turns out, entire episodes of the digital circus have mirrored the same exact events that have also happened previously in DHMIS. For example, episode 4's job segment that followed the process of Jax getting corrected with an informative video after being a bad employee, mirroring exactly what happens to Duck in the first episode of DHMIS after he finds himself struggling to adjust to his new job in the factory. We also saw one of the main characters from the digital circus, Gangle, essentially go mad with power as the new workplace manager, just like the process Red Guy goes through as well in DHMIS, along with the fact that both show episodes highlight the idea of a sort of workplace accident. But despite all the similarities between the two shows, how do we know for sure that DHMIS would connect to the digital circus's finale in some way? How it actually ends? Well, let's take a look at this specific calendar date from the show. If you didn't know, this date, June 19th, has been set up in DHMIS as the main date that was strangely made to be important throughout the show for some reason. But what if I told you that this same exact date is actually when the digital circus's finale is finally released on YouTube? Why would Glitch have picked this same exact day if this connection to DHMIS wasn't meant to mean anything? On top of this, DHMIS ends in the same exact way we're literally expecting the digital circus to end as well, for the show to essentially reset at the very end, restarting the cycle that was set up all the way back in the first episode. Both shows are setting up a loop that happens specifically on June 19th. Only there was one more detail towards the digital circus's ending that we still needed to uncover. The truth about these flashback scenes that we've seen starting to be set up from the recent episode 9 trailer. You see, on top of Ribbit's return already being confirmed through what we've seen early, there was also additional secret characters from the circus's past that have also been addressed. Characters that were recently discovered on what was said to be the partial cast list for episode 9 that was allegedly released early. But what characters did this cast list end up revealing to us? Well, it turns out I'm able to put together everything about the situation for you in this video right here. So for what we know towards the digital circus's final episode, make sure to check it out.